Veins Made of Oil by Alita Silva. Read by Paul Navarro. When they made the discovery, I knew that some politician would change the definition of genocide to something done to only those we like. We weren't liked. Well, not like the Jews of Germany. At least not the way we like them centuries later. We always love people best when they are long gone and we aren't obligated to do anything anymore. The Oxford English Dictionary 2040 Addendum. Genocide. 1. The deliberate and systematic extermination of a national, racial, political, or cultural group that we like. Though the public outrage was strong, it seemed to wane and waver. The first night the addendum was introduced, Americans marched in the streets, side by side one another, burning cars and looting malls. Not a single man nor woman was seen outside without brandishing some sort of weapon. Bats became weapons of choice, and storefront broken windows the poetry of our streets. The sound of shattered glass was my lullaby, and the boom of homemade grenades equivalent to the static humdrum of traffic noise. The second week brought on a different tone to the discord. Americans were still outraged, but some less so than others. Soon it was announced all over the news, and every single public port echoed the crisis that ensued. World stops running, oil crisis reaches peak. We had felt the pinch for over 3 years now, the rising cost of oil, less and less vehicles on the road, criminals breaking in gas tanks to pilfer much-needed supply, gas stations hiring private armed security guards carrying AK-47s. Private armed security guards stealing the very product they vowed to protect. If the news outlets were right, we were heading toward the end of the world as we knew it. Our attention was turned from the addendum to our basic need to run our lives and run them smoothly. By the end of the month, only one face rivaled the news of the oil crisis on TV, that of Estênio Francisco Lima, the famous Brazilian biochemist who claimed to have found an end to the oil crisis. By then, half the city's electricity was gone. Even the hills had unreliable lighting, though the rich were much better equipped to maintain and buy their way back to their lifestyles. A third of the hills were regularly lit, until flatland mobs used the bright white lights as their northern star, and looted those homes until the very front gates had to be reinforced with 3 or 4 private guards. The president asked us for a week of quiet solitude. She had spent her time reflecting and praying to God, and asking God to shed some light on our plight. She told us to take a week off and stay home. She had no legal authority to keep companies from demanding their workers punch their cards early Monday morning. But she was pleading with the public, with all the rungs of society, to work together and meditate for a week on our crisis. I think she just wanted people off the streets, out of their cars, out of the trains and planes, and in their dark homes, under candlelight, until the government could figure out what to do. I stayed home. I wish I hadn't. They came before long, before I had a chance to call and warn Mama. It was a cold Wednesday, though the heater had to be off. The entire building creaked under the weight of us, like the Titanic inching closer and closer to the bottom of the abyss. My battery-operated radio was on. I had to get one because the electricity could no longer be relied on. I remember it was dusk. I remember the shadow falling on the red brick walls of my apartment, racing down my stained carpet like children used to, when things were simpler. Bob Marley came on and off, the static making me appreciate a time when static was an abstract concept. Then the music stopped. Don't cry. I tapped the radio. A voice comes on, clear and strong, though occasionally punctured by static. I sit still. The electricity of my cotton shirt keeps interfering with the announcement. All Negroes, this is not a test. Estênio Francisco Lima has released his announcement. Do not trust anyone. They will take you. You are part of their plan. You are their final solution. My skin prickled with flesh bumps that were not there before. I wasn't sure what I was listening to, but I felt its reality. We weren't liked. Isterio Francisco Lima, biochemist, recent appointee to the Oil Crisis Task Force headed by the Pentagon, has turned his first viable corpse into viable oil. Tried living Negro body. Succeeded. I shook my head. I heard a pop. Fireworks? No. Gunshots. Wait. I look at the cordless phone. The electricity has been gone for 3 days, and the house phone can't work without it. How will I call Mama and warn her? Make sure it wasn't because we weren't liked. Make sure this was a prank. The Lima orders have been signed. All Negro bodies rounded up. The realization flows quietly into my eardrums, and I hear it as if someone is whispering it to me. It wouldn't be genocide anymore, because they never liked us. I drop the radio on the floor and run to my windows. I use the latch to secure them. I look below into the playground in front of my building. I see them, dressed in black armor, donning sharp rifles that remind me of a time I'm not supposed to remember. They move up the stairs quickly and without noise. Then I hear the slamming of a door. They must have kicked open Milena's door. She lives on the first floor and is the first one to greet everyone who comes to the building. I live on the 3rd floor. It must mean something that I live on the 3rd floor. God must have given me this floor for a reason. This must be Him buying me time. I unlatch my window and pull myself up. I'm barefoot, and I can feel the metal piercing my feet. It's a long way down, and there is no way for me to climb. My windows face the very front of the building, and I know they see me. What if I were to jump? They won't catch me alive. Then I remember all Negro bodies, dead or alive. They never liked us. Before I can make the decision, my door has been blown off its hinges and 6 armed men are inside, pulling me from the window, slamming my body on the ground. I hear the tearing of my hair inside my head. Someone's got a handful of my hair and is pushing my face down. It's hard to breathe. Cold, hard boots are pressed on the small of my back, where the toes meet my spine. Stay down! I hear screaming down the hallway, bodies pulled, children no longer children, brought down the linoleum hallway. I'm not who you're looking for, I manage to scream. You're exactly who we're looking for. I try to look up to no avail. Now the metal boot has moved up to my head and is placed on top of my ear, grinding my earlobe into my skull. I found her ID. Cecilia Veracruz. What are you, Mexican? No, Boricua. I say, my breath is catching in my throat. Hope is trapped under his boot. I am not a Negro. My lips feel hot. Tears stream down to dirty ground. They are silent for a few seconds. What do you think you are? I'm a Latina. You should know the difference. They laugh. As they do, the pressure from the boot is too much to bear. I scream, though my screaming mingles with the children far down the hallway. They are black, I want to say, but I knew they never liked us. I feel warm spit running down my back. It's not my problem you don't know you're black. I don't care where you come from. I shut my eyes. I should have jumped before they reached me, but I couldn't do it. My body wouldn't let me. Mama. I think of her. Where was she at this very moment? Whose boots were demanding her body for public consumption? And most importantly, had she too denied her heritage for salvation? But unlike me, she knew very early on they never liked us. I hope she jumped. That concludes Veins Made of Oil, written by Alita Silva and read by Paul Navarro. For more stories, please tune in to SheWritesIRead.com.